What if today was the last chance you had to change your life? Think about that for a moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things finally feel easier. Today. Because the truth is, none of us know how much time we have left. We live as if life is infinite, as if we can keep waiting for the perfect moment, but deep down we know the clock is always ticking. Every sunrise is one day closer to the end, and if you keep putting off the life you were meant to live, one day you will run out of chances. This isn't meant to scare. It's meant to wake you up. Most people drift through life asleep, moving from one distraction to another, pretending they'll get serious someday. But someday isn't real. Someday never comes. What's real is this moment. What's real is the breath you're taking right now. And what you do with this moment decides who you become. You already know what you want. You already feel the gap between the life you're living and the life you dream of. That gap doesn't close by wishing. It closes by choosing. It closes by acting, even when you're afraid, even when you're tired, even when the voice in your head whispers that you're not ready. The truth is, you'll never feel perfectly ready. The truth is, readiness is built in the fire of doing. So here's the challenge. Stop living like you have unlimited time. Stop living like you can keep wasting days on excuses, fear, and hesitation. Every moment you delay is a moment you never get back. Regret is the heaviest weight a human being can carry. And it comes from knowing you could have done more, you could have been more, but you chose comfort instead of courage. But here's the good news. You are not stuck. Right now, you are one decision away from a completely different life. That's not a cliche. Science proves it. Every new habit rewires your brain. Every choice, no matter how small, starts creating a new identity. The moment you decide to step up, your future changes. That decision can happen now, in this very second. Imagine what would happen if you treated today as the turning point. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing you didn't waste another day waiting, but instead you acted. You pushed forward, you began. That feeling, the fire of progress, the pride of taking control, is worth more than any comfort you cling to right now. Stay with this message. Don't let your mind drift back into old patterns, because what you're about to hear has the power to shift your perspective forever. If you give your full attention, if you let these words sink deep, you will never see your life the same way again. This your wake-up call. This is the voice that will remind you every single day that you were meant for more. And if you keep listening, if you keep showing up, you will change, not in some distant future, not when it's easy, but starting today. You have no idea how much power you already carry inside you. You've been taught to believe you're limited, that you should play small, that life is something happening to you instead of something you are capable of shaping. But that is a lie. The only chains around you are the ones you've accepted. The only walls that hold you back are the ones you've built in your own mind. And once you see that, once you recognize the truth, nothing can stop you anymore. Think about it. Every person who ever changed their life, every person who rose from nothing, every person who overcame impossible odds started exactly where you are right now, with doubt, with fear, with uncertainty. The difference is they refused to keep believing the voice that said you can't. They decided to answer back with, watch me. That decision is not reserved for the lucky few. That decision is available to you in this very breath. The science is clear. What you believe about yourself shapes everything you do. Psychologists call it self-efficacy, the belief in your own ability to succeed. It's not just wishful thinking. It's the single strongest predictor of whether you will take action, persist through obstacles, and finally achieve what you set out to do. When you believe you can, your brain searches for solutions. When you doubt, your brain searches for excuses. Which one will you allow to guide your life? Maybe you've failed before. Maybe you've tried and quit, tried and fallen, tried and been laughed at. But hear this, your past is not a sentence. Your past is not proof of your limits. Your past is a lesson, and lessons are fuel. What matters now is not how many times you've fallen, but whether you're willing to rise one more time, stronger, wiser, sharper. You are far stronger than you think. You've survived things you thought would break you. You've endured nights you thought would never end. You've carried burdens no one even knows about. And still you're here. Still you're breathing. Still something inside you refuses to give up. That spark is proof of your power. That spark is your reminder that you're capable of far more than the life you've been settling for. The people who inspire the world are not superhuman. They're ordinary people who made an extraordinary choice. They chose to believe in their own strength even when no evidence existed yet. They chose to see themselves as capable before anyone else did. And that choice opened doors. That choice built unshakable momentum. That choice is waiting for you now. So the question is not whether you have power. The question is whether you will finally claim it, whether you will stop letting fear narrate your story, whether you will stop listening to the voice that says, you're not ready, not smart enough, not strong enough. Because that voice is lying. You are ready. You are capable. You are powerful beyond measure. And when you begin to live from that truth, something shifts. Your energy changes. Your decisions sharpen. Your actions align with who you want to become. You stop waiting for permission and start creating your future. That is when momentum builds. That is when life bends in your favor. And that is when you finally begin to experience the strength that has been waiting inside you all along. Every choice you make comes with a price. You either pay the price of growth or you pay the price of regret. One is heavy now but light later. The other feels light now but crushes you forever. And most people, without realizing it, choose regret. They avoid the discomfort of discipline, the sting of rejection, the fear of failure, only to wake up years later with a weight so unbearable they can hardly breathe. That is the pain of regret, the pain of knowing you could have done more but didn't. The truth is, growth is never comfortable. Change is never easy. It demands sacrifice. It demands sweat. It demands that you walk into fear and keep moving even when every part of you wants to run back to safety. But that pain is temporary. The burn of discipline fades. The struggle passes. And in this place comes strength, freedom, and pride. You carry the scars not as reminders of suffering, but as proof you were brave enough to keep going when others quit. Psychologists call this the principle of loss aversion. We feel the pain of loss twice as strongly as the pleasure of gain. That's why regret is so destructive. You can forget the difficulty of waking up early, of pushing through exhaustion, of choosing discipline over laziness. But you never forget the dreams you abandoned. You never forget the person you could have become. That ache stays with you, whispering in the quiet moments, asking what might have been if only you had tried. And yet you have the power to avoid that fate. Every day you choose growth, you take away regret's power over your life. Every time you lean into discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, you strengthen your identity as someone who does not quit. That identity is the foundation of transformation. You must decide what kind of pain you're willing to live with. Will it be the sharp but fleeting pain of growth or the lifelong suffocating pain of regret? Only one leads to freedom. Only one leads to fulfillment. And the choice is always in your hands. Look back at the moments in your life when you pushed yourself beyond what you thought was possible. Maybe it was a time you worked harder than you believed you could, or a time you faced fear and still moved forward. Do you regret those moments? Or do you carry them with pride? Growth always rewards you even when it hurts. Regret only punishes you even when it feels easy in the beginning. This is a turning point. You can choose the easy road, smooth and comfortable, leading to the quiet despair of what if. Or you can choose the hard road, full of challenges and obstacles, but leading to the life you were meant to live. That decision defines your destiny. That decision writes your story. The pain of growth is the price of greatness. The pain of regret is the cost of wasted potential. You cannot escape pain in this life, but you can choose which pain you carry. And if you are strong enough to choose the pain of growth, you will look back one day with gratitude, knowing you had the courage to live fully without regret. Motivation is a spark, but it is not enough to carry you to greatness. It burns bright for a moment, then fades when the weather turns harsh, when the mood shifts, when the obstacles rise higher than expected. If you build your life on motivation alone, you will rise and fall with your emotions, never creating lasting progress. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Think about it. Anyone can feel inspired after hearing powerful words. Anyone can feel excited when starting something new. But what happens when the excitement disappears? What happens when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one even notices your effort? That is the moment when discipline must take over. Discipline is not about feeling like it. It is about doing it because you said you would. It is about honoring your own word even when the world tempts you with excuses. Psychology shows us that habits are not built on emotion. They are built on repetition. The brain rewires itself through consistent action, not through bursts of temporary motivation. Every time you act with discipline, you carve a deeper pathway in your mind, making it easier to follow next time. Over weeks and months, those small actions solidify into identity. You stop forcing yourself and start becoming. You no longer say, I try to be disciplined. You begin to say, I am disciplined. That shift is where a true transformation lives. Discipline is freedom disguised as structure. It feels like restriction in the moment, but over time, it unlocks everything you truly want. Without discipline, you are a slave to impulse, to laziness, to distraction. With discipline, you are the master of your life. You decide your direction. You control your time. You own your results. And nothing feels more powerful than realizing you are no longer controlled by fleeting moods, but guided by unshakable commitment. Yes, discipline demands sacrifice. You will sacrifice comfort. You will sacrifice ease. You will sacrifice the illusion of freedom that comes from giving in to every desire. But what you gain in return is priceless. You gain confidence because you know you can trust yourself. You gain strength because you've proven you can endure. You gain respect from others, yes, but most importantly from yourself. That respect is the foundation of self-belief, and self-belief is the foundation of success. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to feel motivated. Start with one small action you can repeat every single day, no matter what. Consistency is what compounds into greatness. Discipline is what builds momentum when motivation is gone. The ones who win are not the ones who always feel inspired. They are the ones who do it anyway. Every time you choose discipline, you move closer to the life you want. Every time you give in to laziness, you drift further away. The choice is in your hands every single day. Choose the path that strengthens you. Choose the path that builds you. Choose the path that transforms you. Because discipline is not punishment. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. It is the commitment to becoming the person you were meant to be, no matter how hard the road may seem. The mind often convinces you that change requires massive leaps, that transformation demands giant, impossible steps. That belief is the very thing that keeps people frozen in place. They look at the mountain and tell themselves it's too high to climb, forgetting that every mountain has only ever been conquered one step at a time. The truth is, small steps create the biggest transformations. The tiny, almost invisible choices you make each day compound into unstoppable momentum. You may think that skipping one workout doesn't matter, that scrolling for an extra hour doesn't matter, that leaving a goal for tomorrow doesn't matter. But these choices stack. Every repeated decision is a vote for the person you are becoming. The compound effect works both ways. It can build you or it can break you. Small actions of discipline, repeated consistently, create exponential growth. Small actions of neglect, repeated consistently, create exponential decline. You cannot escape the compounding nature of life. The only choice you have is which direction it will take you. Psychologists studying behavior call this the principle of incremental progress. When your brain sees tasks as too large, it shuts down. But when you focus on small, achievable steps, your brain rewards you with momentum and confidence. Each win, no matter how small, reinforces your identity. You stop saying, I want to change, and start saying, I am changing. That subtle shift in self-perception is what fuels long-term transformation. Think about the power of 1%. If you improve by just 1% each day, you may not notice much in a week. But in a year, you will be unrecognizable. The compounding effect of steady effort is relentless. It does not care how small your steps are. It only cares that you keep moving forward. The person who takes consistent small steps will always surpass the one who waits for the perfect big step. This is why patience matters. Growth does not reveal itself immediately. Seeds planted in the soil do not sprout the next morning. They grow silently beneath the surface, gathering strength until the day they break through. Your progress works the same way. It may feel invisible at first, but every small step is building roots of resilience, preparing for the breakthrough you will one day see. Do not underestimate the simple power of daily effort. One page read, one workout completed, 1 hour of focused work, one conversation you were afraid to have. These may not seem like much on their own, but together they build a life you can be proud of. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not talent, not luck, not even intelligence. It is the willingness to take consistent small steps when no one is watching. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for motivation to arrive like lightning. Begin with something small. something you can repeat today, tomorrow, and the day after. Let consistency be your strength. Let patience be your advantage. Let the compound effect of your small steps carry you forward. Because the truth is, greatness is not built in one day. Greatness is built every day in the small, unseen steps that over time create a life beyond anything you thought possible. As you move forward, you will discover that the greatest obstacles are not outside of you, but within you. The world may throw challenges in your path, but the fiercest battles are the ones fought in your own mind. Fear, doubt, and laziness. These are the silent enemies that steal dreams, the invisible weights that keep people anchored in mediocrity. They disguise themselves as reason, as comfort, as caution, but their goal is always the same, to stop you from becoming who you are meant to be. Fear tells you to play small. It whispers that stepping into the unknown will destroy you, that failure is unbearable, that rejection will break you. But fear is a liar. Fear exists not to show your limits, but to point directly at your opportunities. The place where fear shows up is the exact place where growth waits for you. When you feel fear, it is not a signal to stop. It is a compass pointing you toward the path that matters most. Doubt is another enemy, and it is ruthless. Doubt convinces you that you are not ready, that you are not enough, that others have something you don't. Doubt blinds you to your own power, making you question every step until you freeze in place. But doubt loses its grip the moment you take action. Action is the antidote to doubt. Each step forward, no matter how small, proves the voice wrong. You don't need to silence doubt completely. You only need to keep moving in spite of it. Then there's laziness, the quiet destroyer. It doesn't strike with loud force, but with subtle whispers. Do it later. Rest a little longer. You deserve a break. And before you know it, days slip into months, and dreams rot in the soil of procrastination. Laziness feeds on comfort, but comfort is the cage that kills ambition. The only cure is discipline, the decision to rise even when you don't feel like it, to honor your goals above your mood. Each time you choose discipline over laziness, you weaken its hold and strengthen your will. These enemies live within everyone. No one is free from them. But the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not whether the enemies exist, but whether they are faced and defeated each day. When you name them, when you expose them, they lose their power. What was once an invisible chain becomes a battle you are prepared to win. You must understand that these inner enemies are not here to end you. They're here to sharpen you. They test your resolve. They build your strength. They force you to rise higher. Without them, you would never grow. Without them, you would never discover how powerful you truly are. The key is not to run from them, but to face them head on, to recognize them for what they are, and to move forward anyway. Every time you push through fear, every time you override doubt, every time you rise above laziness, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the voice that tries to hold you back. That victory is not small, it is everything. It is the difference between a life half lived and a life fully claimed. And each victory brings you closer to becoming unstoppable. Real transformation begins the moment you stop chasing outcomes and start reshaping your identity. Goals are important, but they are not enough. If you see yourself as someone who tries to be disciplined, you will always fight against resistance. If you see yourself as someone who occasionally pushes through fear, you will always hesitate. True change happens when you stop trying and start becoming, when your actions are no longer forced, but a natural expression of who you believe you are. The mind is powerful. Neuroscience shows us that identity is the anchor of behavior. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your self-image. If you believe you are weak, you will sabotage your progress. If you believe you are unworthy, you will reject opportunities. But if you believe you are powerful, disciplined, and unstoppable, your actions will naturally align with that vision. Identity is the engine that drives behavior, and behavior is what creates results. You must decide who you are becoming, not just what you want. Every action you take is a vote for the identity you choose. When you wake up early, you're casting a vote for being disciplined. When you face fear, you're casting a vote for being courageous. When you keep a promise to yourself, you're casting a vote for being trustworthy. Over time, these votes accumulate until they shape a new reality. Change is not a sudden leap. It is a consistent reinforcement of the person you are committed to being. This is why willpower alone cannot sustain transformation. Willpower is a muscle and it fatigues. but identity is permanent. When you see yourself as someone who does not quit, quitting becomes unnatural. When you see yourself as someone who values growth, growth becomes inevitable. The more you reinforce that identity with daily actions, the less effort it takes to keep moving forward. What once felt like a battle becomes who you are. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control the story you tell yourself about who you are. That story shapes your decisions. That story shapes your energy. That story shapes your destiny. If your story is one of weakness, you will live small. If your story is one of strength, you will rise no matter how many times you fall. You are not trapped by your past because identity is not fixed. It is built in every moment by the choices you make today. So choose wisely. See yourself as the person you want to be and let your actions confirm it. Speak the truth of your future self until your present self has no choice but to follow. You are not a prisoner of old habits, old mistakes, or old beliefs. You are free to decide, free to shift, free to embody a new identity that matches the greatness within you. Every great transformation begins not with the question, what do I want, but with the declaration, this is who I am. Once you believe it, once you claim it, once you live it, the world around you will shift to reflect it. And in that moment, you will stop merely chasing change and begin embodying the unstoppable identity of someone who is already transformed. The moment you commit to a new identity, life will test you, setbacks will come, failures will strike, people will doubt you, criticize you, or misunderstand you. And in those moments, it is easy to believe the lie that struggle means you are on the wrong path. But the truth is the opposite. Struggle is the clearest sign that you are growing. Every challenge you face is not a wall meant to stop you, but a weight meant to strengthen you. Just like a muscle only grows when it is pushed beyond its limit, your spirit only grows when it is stretched beyond comfort. Resilience is not about avoiding pain, it is about using it. The world's strongest people are not those who never fail. They are those who kept rising every time they did. Resilience is the ability to take the hit, feel the disappointment, face the setback, and still move forward with determination. That ability is not something you are born with. It is something you build one challenge at a time. Every hardship you endure is training, conditioning you for the greater life you are creating. Psychology calls this the growth mindset, the belief that abilities are not fixed, but developed through effort, learning, and persistence. When you see failure as final, you stop. But when you see failure as feedback, you adjust. That shift in perspective turns setbacks into stepping stones. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That question changes everything. It transforms pain into wisdom, mistakes into progress, and obstacles into fuel. Think about it. Every person you admire, every story that inspires you is built on resilience. They were not immune to struggle. They faced rejection, ridicule, and failure. The difference is they refused to quit. They refused to let difficulty define them. And because of that, they rose above. The same fire burns in you. You are not excluded from resilience. You are capable of withstanding more than you can imagine. Your scars are not proof of weakness. They are evidence of survival. And survival is strength. When you start embracing challenges instead of running from them, your relationship with life changes. You no longer see obstacles as punishments, but as opportunities. You no longer fear setbacks because you know they forge the exact strength you need for the future you are building. The storm no longer frightens you because you know storms are where warriors are made. So when life knocks you down, rise again. When doubt creeps in, act anyway. When fear shouts in your ear, move forward regardless. Each act of resilience builds a reservoir of power within you. That power compounds just like small steps compound. And one day you will realize you are no longer fragile, no longer easily broken. You will realize that nothing outside of you has the power to defeat what you have built inside of you. Resilience is not about being unshaken. It is about being unbreakable. You may bend, but you will not break. You may fall, but you will not stay down. You may struggle, but you will never surrender. And when you live with that mindset, there is nothing life can throw at you that can stop you from becoming who you were destined to be. Strength is not built in isolation. No matter how powerful your mindset becomes, no matter how disciplined your habits grow, your environment will either accelerate your transformation or drag it silently back into mediocrity. You cannot rise to your highest potential if you surround yourself with people, places, and patterns that keep you small. Human beings are wired for influence. We adapt to the standards of the world around us, whether we realize it or not. Studies in psychology prove this again and again. We conform to the energy of our circle. We mirror the habits, the language, the attitudes of those closest to us. If the people around you settle, you will feel pressure to settle. If they avoid growth, you will feel justified in avoiding it too. But if you surround yourself with people who push harder, who demand more of themselves, who refuse to quit, then that fire becomes contagious. Your environment shapes your destiny. Look closely at your surroundings. Are they pulling you forward or holding you back? Are the voices you listen to building your courage or feeding your fear? Every conversation, every influence, every space you enter leaves a mark. And if you are serious about changing your life, you must be ruthless about what you allow to shape you. Protect your energy. Guard your focus. Surround yourself only with people and environments that align with the life you are creating, not the life you are leaving behind. This does not mean cutting off everyone who is not where you want to be. It means choosing carefully whose voices you allow to guide you, whose standards you adopt, whose habits you absorb. Even if you are surrounded by negativity, you still have the power to create a higher environment through what you feed your mind. Books, audios, mentors, communities, these are lifelines that elevate you beyond your current surroundings. You do not need permission from your environment to grow. You need intention. Think of your environment as the soil and you as the seed. Even the strongest seed cannot grow in toxic soil, but when planted in rich soil, growth becomes natural, inevitable, unstoppable. The soil of your life is everything you expose yourself to daily. The people you talk to, the content you consume, the places you spend your time. If you want to grow into your fullest potential, you must plant yourself in an environment that nourishes strength, focus, and resilience. Do not underestimate how powerful this shift can be. Many dreams die not because the dreamer was weak, but because the environment was poisonous. And many ordinary people have risen to greatness simply because they placed themselves in the right soil, surrounded by people and influences that demanded their best. You are no different. You have the power to choose where you plant yourself. You have the power to choose what voices you allow into your mind. You have the power to design an environment that makes growth the only option. When you align your environment with your vision, everything accelerates. Discipline becomes easier. Resilience becomes natural. Progress becomes inevitable. You no longer fight against the tide, you move with it. And in that flow, you discover that growth is not just about your effort, but about the world you allow to shape you. Choose wisely because your environment is not just where you live, it is what you become. When you begin to take control of your environment, you also unlock a deeper truth. Your perspective determines your experience of life. Two people can face the same challenge and one will see only obstacles while the other sees opportunities. The difference is not the circumstance, the difference is the mindset. Gratitude is the shift that changes how you see everything. It is the lens that turns scarcity into abundance, struggle into strength, and ordinary moments into powerful reminders of what is possible. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending life is perfect. It is about choosing to recognize the good, even in the middle of difficulty. Psychologists have found that gratitude rewires the brain. When you focus on what you are thankful for, your mind releases chemicals that increase resilience, reduce stress, and strengthen motivation. It is not wishful thinking. It is science. Gratitude builds mental toughness by keeping your focus on possibility instead of lack. Think about how easily the mind slips into negativity. One setback can erase 10 victories. One criticism can drown out 100 compliments. Left unchecked, the mind clings to what is missing and overlooks what is already present. Gratitude interrupts this cycle. It forces you to step back and acknowledge what is working, what you have overcome, what you still possess that others might only dream of. And when you practice gratitude daily, you stop living from a place of scarcity and start living from a place of strength. This shift is not small. When you focus on scarcity, you feel powerless. When you focus on gratitude, you feel resourceful. Scarcity says, I don't have enough. Gratitude says, I already have something to build with. Scarcity drains your energy before you even begin. Gratitude fuels you with the strength to keep going. That energy is what allows you to rise when others quit, to endure when others collapse, to see possibility when others see only problems. Gratitude also keeps ambition pure. Without gratitude, ambition becomes hunger that never ends, a chase for more that leaves you empty no matter what you achieve. But when ambition is built on gratitude, You are driven not by desperation, but by appreciation. You pursue growth not because you are lacking, but because you are overflowing. You expand not because you are incomplete, but because you are capable of more. Gratitude roots you in peace, even as you strive for progress. Every day gives you a choice to see what is missing or to see what is present, to dwell on what is broken or to build on what is still whole, to complain about what life has taken or to be thankful for what it has given. Gratitude does not change the situation, but it changes you. And when you change, the situation no longer has the same power over you. Start by acknowledging even the smallest things, the breath in your lungs, the lessons in your struggles, the opportunities that still exist in front of you. The more you practice, the more your mind shifts. And soon, gratitude becomes your default, a quiet strength that keeps you centered in the middle of storms. With gratitude, you carry unshakable power, because when you can be thankful even in the hardest times, nothing can take away your ability to rise. Gratitude gives you strength for the present, but vision pulls you into the future. Without a clear vision, even the strongest gratitude can leave you standing still. You need something that draws you forward, something so powerful it makes the struggle worth it, something so vivid it feels more real than the obstacles in front of you. Vision is not fantasy. It is the blueprint your mind builds before your hands create it. The clearer your vision, the stronger your direction, and the more unstoppable your momentum becomes. Your brain is wired to follow images and stories. Neuroscience shows that when you visualize success with clarity and detail, the same areas of brain activate as if you were living it in reality. That rehearsal strengthens your confidence and prepares your body to take the steps necessary to make it real. But vision requires more than just daydreaming. It must be specific, compelling, and tied directly to the identity you are building. It must be something that ignites your spirit every time you think of it. Without vision, life becomes routine, a cycle of repeating yesterday with no real progress. That is why so many people feel empty even when they have enough. They are moving, but they're not moving toward anything. But when you carry a clear vision, every action gains meaning. Even small steps become powerful because you know they are building towards something greater. The discipline that once felt heavy becomes light when it is connected to a future you can already see in your mind. Ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to build? Not in vague terms, but in details so sharp you can close your eyes and see it. What kind of person do you want to become? What kind of impact do you want to leave? What does freedom look like to you? What does strength feel like? When your vision becomes that clear, it begins to pull you. You no longer push yourself out of bed. You are drawn forward by a force bigger than comfort. Vision also shields you in the hardest moments. When setbacks strike, when progress feels slow, when doubt whispers in your ear, vision becomes your anchor. It reminds you why you began. It reminds you what is at stake. It reminds you that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the life you are building will last. Vision is the reason you keep going when others quit, the reason you endure when others surrender, the reason you rise even after falling. Do not settle for drifting. Do not settle for vague wishes. Craft your vision with precision and breathe life into it every single day. Write it down, speak it out loud, see it in your mind until it feels undeniable. Because when you carry vision with clarity, the world begins to shift. Opportunities appear. Energy aligns. People notice the fire in your eyes and are drawn to it. With vision, you are not just surviving each day, you are moving with purpose. And purpose transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary momentum. That is the power of vision. It does not just show you the future. It brings the future closer until the life you see in your mind becomes the life you are living in reality. A powerful vision means nothing without the courage to act on it. Many people dream, many people imagine, but few turn their vision into reality because they wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. But perfection never arrives. Life rewards those who move, who take imperfect steps forward, who dare to act even when fear whispers that they are not ready. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move despite it. Every great transformation begins with one decision: to act. Not tomorrow, not when it feels comfortable, not when the doubts disappear. Right now, action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, vision remains a picture in your mind. With it, vision becomes a living reality. Psychology proves this truth. Motivation does not always come before action. Often, action itself creates motivation. When you take the first step, no matter how small, momentum begins to build, and that momentum fuels you to keep moving. Think about the times you hesitated, when you let fear convince you to wait. Did waiting ever make it easier? Or did it make the mountain look bigger, the fear grow stronger, the opportunity slip further away? Fear feeds on hesitation. Action starves it. Every time you move forward, fear loses its grip. Every time you act, you teach your mind that you are stronger than the voice of doubt. Action also teaches clarity. So many people stay stuck because they think they need the perfect plan before beginning. But clarity rarely comes before movement. It comes during movement. You learn what works and what doesn't only by doing. You adjust, refine, and improve only by taking steps. Waiting for certainty is the fastest path to stagnation. Acting with courage is the only way to find it. Small, consistent actions build unstoppable momentum. You don't need to leap the entire staircase today. You only need to take the first step and keep climbing. Over time, those steps compound into massive transformation. Success is rarely about one grand act. It is about thousands of small decisions repeated with discipline until they carry you to a place you once thought impossible. Do not let fear convince you that courage means never feeling afraid. Courage means looking fear in the eye and moving anyway. It means acknowledging doubt but refusing to let it decide for you. It means taking the step that scares you most, because you know on the other side of fear lies the life you are meant to live. The very thing you are afraid of is often the gateway to your breakthrough. Remember, action does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be real. Start where you are with what you have and take the next step. Each action reinforces your identity as someone who does not wait, someone who does not hide, someone who builds their life with their own hands. And as you act, your confidence grows, your courage expands, and your vision begins to take shape before your eyes. Courageous action is the proof of your commitment. Without it, dreams remain dreams. With it, dreams turn into reality. The life you want will not appear because you wish for it. It will appear because you were brave enough to act for it over and over until nothing could stop you. Action creates progress, but discipline sustains it. Anyone can start strong for a day, for a week, even for a month. But true transformation belongs to those who remain consistent long after the excitement fades. Discipline is the silent force that carries you through the valleys, the routine, the unglamorous moments when no one is watching. It is the commitment to show up again and again, regardless of how you feel, until the actions you repeat shape the life you desire. Motivation may get you moving, but motivation is fragile. It rises and falls with your emotions, your energy, your circumstances. If you rely only on motivation, you will quit when the feelings fade. Discipline is stronger than feelings. Discipline is choosing to act based on your commitments, not your moods. It is the promise you make to yourself that no matter how heavy the resistance feels, you will take the next step. And every time you honor that promise, you strengthen your identity as someone unstoppable. Science shows that habits are built through repetition. Every time you act with discipline, you carve pathways in your brain that make the behavior easier the next time. What feels impossible at first soon becomes automatic. Just as weakness compounds through neglect, strength compounds through consistency. Each disciplined choice builds on the last, until your new standards are no longer effort but second nature. But discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about aligning your daily actions with your deepest values. It is about honoring the future you more than the impulses of the moment. Discipline is a form of love. Love for the person you are becoming. Love for the vision you are building. Love for the life you know you deserve. When you see discipline as love, it no longer feels like restriction. It feels like freedom. Think about the areas of your life where you crave change. What if you stopped waiting for the right mood and simply committed to consistent action? What if you decided that every day you would take steps, no matter how small, toward becoming stronger, wiser, more focused? Imagine how much further you would be 1 year from now if you acted with discipline instead of waiting for motivation. The results would be undeniable. Discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you follow through on your word, you strengthen your trust in yourself. Every time you break that word, you weaken it. Confidence is not built from external applause, but from the quiet knowing that you can rely on yourself to keep your promises. That self-respect becomes unshakable, and with it comes the courage to pursue even bigger goals. Do not underestimate the power of showing up daily. Small disciplined actions may seem insignificant, but over time they transform everything. Just as drops of water carve stone, daily discipline carves out a life of strength, resilience, and freedom. It is not what you do once in a while that shapes you. It is what you do consistently. Choose discipline because discipline chooses you back. It rewards you with progress, confidence, and transformation that motivation alone could never provide. With discipline, you move beyond temporary effort into lasting change. And once discipline becomes your foundation, there is no storm strong enough to break what you have built. Discipline builds consistency, but resilience ensures you endure the inevitable storms. No matter how strong your vision, no matter how fierce your determination, life will test you. You will face setbacks that shake your confidence, failures that bruise your pride, obstacles that make progress feel impossible. In those moments, the difference between those who rise and those who stay down is resilience. The ability to bend without breaking, to fall without staying fallen, to transform pain into power. Resilience is not about pretending you are unaffected. It is about acknowledging the difficulty and choosing not to let it define you. It is about refusing to let temporary circumstances decide your permanent destiny. Psychology reveals that resilience is built when you interpret challenges not as signs of weakness, but as opportunities for growth. The story you tell yourself about hardship shapes whether it becomes the reason you stop or the reason you grow stronger. Every setback carries within it a lesson, a hidden strength waiting to be discovered. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. Each time you fall, you gain knowledge that equips you for the next step. Each time you endure, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the storm. Resilience is forged in these moments, not when life is easy, but when everything in you wants to quit and yet you continue. Think of the times you thought you couldn't go on, yet you did. Think of the weight you carried, the losses you survived, the battles you overcame when the odds seemed impossible. Those moments did not destroy you. They prepared you. They strengthened you. They showed you that even in your lowest points, you had the power to rise. That same power is still inside you now, waiting to be used again. Resilience is also about perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? That question shifts your energy from victimhood to empowerment. It reminds you that you still have choice, still have control, still have the ability to create meaning out of pain. Resilient people do not escape struggle. They transform it into fuel. This strength is not reserved for a chosen few. It is within every human being, including you, but it must be practiced. It must be chosen in the moments when giving up feels easier. Every time you choose to keep moving even one small step, you reinforce resilience. Every time you turn pain into purpose, you become harder to break. Resilience also creates unshakable confidence. When you know you can endure hardship and still stand tall, fear loses its grip on you. Challenges no longer intimidate you. They become opportunities to prove your strength. You stop running from discomfort and start embracing it as the very ground where growth is born. Life will never be free from struggle, but resilience ensures that struggle never has the final word. With resilience, you carry the unbreakable belief that no matter what comes, you have the power to rise again. That belief is the foundation of unstoppable transformation. Because when you know you cannot be broken, you finally realize you are limitless.